Today we are continuing in our reading of the Gospel of Luke together. We're in Luke chapter 22, verses 39 to 53. Now, in yesterday's reading, we read about how Jesus and his disciples shared in the Last Supper together. And then today, our reading picks up where the dinner has just ended and Jesus goes to the Mount of Olives and the disciples follow him. Now, something that I picked up on reading this time through that I really hadn't before is that this was a pattern of Jesus's. In Luke chapter 21, verses 37 and 38, we read this. Every day Jesus went to the temple to teach, and each evening he returned to spend the night on the Mount of Olives. The crowds gathered at the temple early each morning to hear him. So this was a predictable pattern of Jesus's. Every night he was going out to the Mount of Olives. So he could have pretty easily changed what he was doing in order to avoid what he knew was going to happen. Judas, the one who betrayed him, knew Jesus's pattern and knew where he was going to be. So Luke identifies that they get to this place that he identifies as the place, and he is just assuming and inferring that his readers knew and know that the place is the Garden of Gethsemane. Jesus instructs his disciples to pray against temptation, to pray against not falling into temptation. Now, this could have referred to the immediate temptation for the disciples to fall asleep and thus not being able to fully support Jesus at this time. But this could have also referred to falling into the temptation to deny Jesus on his way to the cross. So either way, Jesus recognized their need for strength from God to stand up under temptation. Then, starting in verse 41, we read this. He walked away about a stone's throw and knelt down and prayed, Father, if you are willing, please take this cup of suffering away from me. Yet I want your will to be done, not mine. These are the verses that stuck out to me as I was reading through today's passage. There is so much depth and agony in these words that Jesus prayed. First, let's talk about Jesus's posture. Now, in one of the commentaries I read, it noted that during this time it was typical for people to stand when they prayed. So Jesus taking the position of kneeling, I think, says something. When he knelt, he was saying and showing just how physically burdensome what he was carrying was. He was saying, Father, I need you. I can't even stand. I'm going to kneel as I pray. Now, second, his words. Jesus pleaded with the Father for there to be another way. He says, take this cup from me. Now, the cup symbolizes the wrath of God that would be put on him in dying for the sins of the world. Jesus took on the wrath of God in response to sin, our sin, so that we wouldn't have to. Then Jesus closes and says, even though I know all of what is to come, and even if, Father, your plan doesn't change, I'm going to submit to your will, Father. Now in verses 43 to 44, we read what happens next. Then an angel from heaven appeared and strengthened him. He prayed more fervently, and he was in such agony of spirit that his sweat fell to the ground like drops of blood. An angel of the Lord came to give him strength. However, even in that, the anguish that he continued to feel, he prayed more fervently, more earnestly. Do you feel the emotion and the internal torment that Jesus was enduring? Luke also gives us an image that no other gospel writer does. He says the physical response to his anguish was that his sweat was falling like drops of blood. Now, whether or not it actually was happening, there are medical conditions that make it so your blood vessels do kind of, the blood mixes with sweat and pours out. Whether it was that or just an image of the sweat falling like drops of blood, this was the physical response of the anguish that Jesus was going through. Now, we haven't even gotten to yet, I know we all know, but what Jesus actually did for all of us yet. The physical atrocities that he endured by dying on the cross. It also seems that there is no word to fully encapsulate the internal anguish that he endured for our sake as well. Yet, Jesus declares, "Not my will, but yours, Father, be done." Jesus trusted his Father's plan, trusted that this would indeed bring about victory over sin and give us, yes, even us, who would come 2,000 years later, a chance for new life.
If these devotional videos are helpful to you, subscribe to our channel and click the notification button so you know when we post a new video. And of course, please share them with others.